Hi Shrikant, good morning.
Morning, sir.
So how are you?
I'm fine, sir. How are you, sir?
I'm also good. Thank you for asking. So Shrikant, you have your the ultimate coders inviting you for your first round of mock interview. Okay, so
Thank you, sir.
let's start. Yes. Okay, so can you give me a brief about yourself?
Sir, my name is Shrikant Badke. I have completed my uh, MSc, and I have 2.5 year experience. In which 2 year I have as a front-end developer, and uh, uh, from 6 months I have work as an Angular developer. In which I have worked on HTML, HTML5, JavaScript, CSS, CSS3, and TypeScript, and Angular version 10.
Okay, so this is about you.
Yes.
Okay. So can you just tell me about your hobbies?
Sir, I like play cricket and work on searching on net, mm, uh, reading books.
Okay, so which book did you read last? Means that is recently.
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay, and what did you learn from that?
How can we manage our financial goals, and how can we achieve our financial can manage with our finance.
Okay, and
How can we save, and how can we invest in our hard, hard earned money into different sectors, and how can we earn from money we are saved from.
so tell me, how do you invest your money?
In stocks or in mutual funds. Some money will be spent in the fixed savings, and some will be spending in shares by purchasing shares of particular companies by analyzing the uh, uh, which company is giving more profit in future.
Okay, so
So I request everyone to turn off their camera to save bandwidth.
okay, so coming to the technicals, tell me what is HTML?
HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, in which there is a it is used for the structure for the web development. We using to construct the framework of HTML web page by using the HTML.
Okay, and what is the difference between HTML4 and HTML5?
In HTML5, it is a more recent version of the HTML, in which it is more cementing than the HTML earlier version, in which new tag is introduced. There is a canvas, SVG, article, header, footer, and some APIs we also introduced in HTML5. There is a geolocation, and drag and drop, and also web storage and web working, etc. Sir.
Okay, What is the difference between inline element and block level element?
In inline element, it starts on same line. In inline, so there is a it occupies the width equal to its content, and we cannot apply height and width to the inline element, and we cannot apply top and bottom margin to the inline element. But in block element, it starts in new line or new row, and it occupies width equal to its parent width. We can apply height and width to the block element, and we can also apply margin to all four directions to the block element. In inline element, there is example of span, and in block element you have div, h1 tag, and paragraph, etc.
Okay, so can you tell me what is the difference between position absolute and position relative?
In position, absolute and relative are the interlinked. There is a, if we give one we give, if we give a relative position to one end and a relative give absolute position to give to the another element, then we can give the position to the absolute in relation with the relative position.
Yes, but firstly tell me what is the by default position of any HTML
By
element?
default position is a static position, sir.
Yes, correct. Okay, but as you said, relative and absolute difference, correct? You said
Yes,
only the, that is the explanation of absolute. Okay, we use
yes, sir.
for absolute, we'll use with the parent relative, correct?
Okay.
So tell
Yes,
me
sir.
what is the difference, what we do if we using position relative only, what we'll do, and if we use absolute.
If we use a relative position, then can that relative when we use the relative position, that element or element, then can we change the position of that relative position? But in absolute position, we change position of absolute on the
But
basis
with
of the relative
respect to
position.
which element? With respect to which element?
On the body, on relative position, we use the on the basis of body relation.
No. In relative, what happens is we'll move the element with respect to itself. It will be the parent element. But when we are using absolute, we'll make any element parent by using relative property. Sorry, position relative.
Okay.
If we use position relative on any element, then the another element for which you are using absolute, that will move with respect to that relative element.
Relative
Yes,
element.
means that
Yes.
time the parent is that relative element.
Yes.
Okay, but when you are using only relative, that time the parent is that same element
Itself parent.
itself. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
What is float?
Float by float we using the float we can assign the element to the right or left in the HTML.
Can align the element right or left.
Align. Yes, sir.
Okay, and what is clear?
By clear is a property because of we applying the float property. There is some drawbacks of that float property that affects the parent dues size, or that can be cleared by the clear both property.
Okay. So tell me, what is the difference between display block, okay, and display inline? Sorry, display inline and display inline block.
There is the by default is a display block is a default property. But if we want to apply some width to the inline block, then we apply the display inline block property. Height width or margin to the top and bottom for the inline block element.
Okay. What is box model?
Box model in box, each HTML element is considered as the box, in which it consists of content, padding, border, and margin. Padding is a space between the content and border it separates the padding and margin. And margin is the outer space occupied by the HTML elements.
What is outline?
Outline is outer boundary for the margin by using the outline property.
Okay. What is an attribute?
Attribute gives some particular information to the particular information of HTML element to the browser.
Examples.
There is attributes are we use a class, href, ser, and in image there is a I, title, etc.
Okay. What is a HTML element?
HTML element is a combination of tag and content or text.
Tag and
Content.
okay. That tag is closed also. Opening tag,
yes,
and closing tag.
Closing. Okay.
Okay. What is a hyperlink?
In a hyperlink, we use the another link to the redirect from one page to another page.
Okay. So if I want to click on a link, and then I want to open it in a separate tab, okay, separate browsers tab. So what should we do?
We apply the target property, target attribute, and blank, use value blank.
Underscore blank is, yes. And what is the by default value?
By default value is self.
Yes.
Self.
Underscore self. Okay. In HTML, is every element has a ending tag or not?
No, sir. In some there is a no closing tag. There like image image and input. There is no closing tag is available.
Okay. What is CSS?
CSS stands for the cascade style sheet, and we use to design the web page by applying the CSS style.
Okay. In how many ways we can apply CSS?
There is 3 ways we can apply the CSS: by inline, internal or embedded, and external. In internal, we use attribute. Inline CSS, we use attribute, style attribute in the HTML element, and in internal or embedded CSS, we use style tag on the in the head tag of HTML files, and in external CSS, we use a link tag in the head tag, giving a reference to the HTML CSS file.
So 3 ways. In 3 ways,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And which is the better way?
There is if we have a large file or large project, then we preferably use the external CSS.
Yes. Okay. And which is having the highest precedence?
Inline CSS having higher preference than the internal, and internal having higher preference than the external.
Okay. So tell me, what is a descendant selector?
Descendant selectors is a type of selector. There is a parent-child relation work.
Yes. Parent-child.
Relation work.
Yes. And what is direct child?
In direct child, there is a direct child use only direct child in which we use the symbol greater than.
Okay. What it will do?
If we have a div and in which there is another div and having a different element in that, and that only gives the direct element, not in sub child didn't get work on that direct child. Only
Yes.
his child is we can use the
Yes.
CSS by the direct child.
Yes, means it will, CSS will be applied to the direct
Only direct child.
childs. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So tell me in how many ways, mainly in how many ways you can select a HTML element in CSS file?
We have select 4 ways by the simple select by selecting by simple selector, combinator selector, and attribute selector, and pseudo selector. In simple selector, there is 4 ways. There is a tag selector, class selector, ID selector, and universal selector. And combinator selector in which descendant selector, direct child selector, and adjacent sibling selector, and general sibling selector. And in attribute, there is by using a tag in square bracket attribute name, and attribute and its value name value and attributes caret by using caret symbol. We use the starting value to the of attribute and attribute and dollar symbol for end value of the value and attribute star for star is equal to value of any character or any word in that attributes value, and title for the any two word space having a space, then we use title. And in pseudo selector there is two types, that is pseudo class and pseudo element. In pseudo class, we defines a particular state of HTML element, and in pseudo element we defines a particular part of HTML selector part of HTML element. In the pseudo class, there is an example like hover, visited, focus, and in pseudo element there is a after, before, and first line. We can select first line and first word, etc.
Okay. So we'll start with the JavaScript.
Okay.
What is JavaScript?
JavaScript is a lightweight interpreted object-oriented language, programming language.
What is a first-class function?
Function is defined as a variable that is called first-class function.
How many types of data types are there in JavaScript?
And there is two types of data types. There is a primitive data types and non-primitive data types. We can also say the primitive data types as a non-object, and non-primitive data types are called as object. Primitive data types holds the value, and non-primitive data types holds the reference. There is a primitive types having 5 types. There is a number, boolean, string, and undefined and null. And non-primitive having a function, object, and array.
What is array?
Array, it stores the multiple data on the basis of index numbers.
What is string?
Yes, sir.
What is a string?
String is any character value is stored in the double quote or single quote.
Double
quote or single quote.
Okay. How do you find the length of a string?
By using the property string.length, string name.length.
Okay. And how do you cut a string in a specific length?
By slice method.
What slice method will do?
It cuts the string from the index number from starting, and the last but one number of index number.
Okay. What is a function?
Function function is a group of code to perform a particular task for multiple times, sir.
Okay. What is hoisting?
Hosting in hosting, all declaration in that scope or page get shifted on the top of the scope, sir.
Okay. What is scope?
Scope is assigning availability and accessibility of any declaration.
How many types of scopes are there?
There is 3 types of scope. There is a global scope, functional scope, and block scope.
Tell me the difference.
Global scope cannot access the functional scope and block scope. The block scope and functional scope can access the declarations from the global scope.
One more time, tell me the definition.
If we declare, we can access declaration we can access declaration in the global scope can access by the functional scope and block scope.
Accessed anywhere, correct? If it is present
Yes,
in a global scope.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. What is functional scope?
Functional scope, a declaration is declared in that function, get shifted in the top of the functional scope.
Yes, it is only accessible in
Functional scope, sir.
only
Function.
in that function.
Function, yes.
Okay. Now tell me the block scope and explain me.
If we give let our const as a declaration, then we can assign the value in the function or any function that cannot access in the global function, global scope. That is we can say that is a functional scope or block scope.
Wrong. This is not correct. Block scope. Okay, fine. You start reading after this. Okay. So, okay. So, tell me what is the difference between undefined and not defined?
Undefined, in undefined we can declare the variable, but we cannot assign the value. But in not defined, we cannot declare declaration at.
Okay, and what is coercion?
Coercion is a conversion of one data type into another data type.
Okay. So, tell me, if I am using a first class function, okay, and I am storing it in a variable A. Variable A
Yes.
equals to function, and then I am using it in the top of that. I am calling it or consoling it at the line number 1.
Okay.
What will be the output of that?
There is no output.
No, means something will be there. No undefined, not defined, error. What will be the output?
Yes. If we console it or sir?
Yes, we are declaring. Sorry, we are you declaring the first class function at line number 10. Okay,
Yes, sir.
where A
Yes.
equals to function, and in that we are writing our body. Okay, and we are consoling it at the line number 5, console A, what will be the output?
Maybe object, sir.
Why object? Think no, it will get hoisted. It is a variable. Tell me what will
Undefined.
happen.
Undefined.
Why?
There is a we have assigned the value on the line number 10, but we have calling at the position of 5. That hosting is possible, but that value is use the undefined value.
Okay, and that is also a function. If we call that A, calling
Yes,
a
sir.
function there, what will happen then? At the line number 5, if we call A, then that function will be called or not?
No, sir.
Why?
We declaring as a function with calling. Only we can.
Okay, fine. You can try this. Okay.
Okay.
Let's move to the next question. Okay. So you told me what is the array, correct?
Yes, sir.
Why we use push and pop methods?
We use push and pop method for the removing and adding the element end of the array.
Last element of
by
array.
using we push, we add the last element of the array, and by pop we remove the last element of that array.
And what is the difference between shift and unshift?
We in shift we remove the first element of array, and unshift we add the first element of that array.
Okay, what is the difference between splice and slice?
In slice, we copy the HTML array, a particular part of array, and in slice, we can add or remove the element from a particular index number.
Okay, explain me splice.
Splice or slicer?
Splice.
In slice, we can remove or add, or we can do both the method in simultaneously in one method, in which we add firstly the index number of which element will be removed from that array, and second will be give the length, how many element will be we remove, and the last element which element will we add on that index number, that will be added to the that method.
Yes. Okay. So tell me what is the difference between substring and sub str?
In sub str, we the first value both in which there is a index number, and but in sub str there is a second value is length of the index, and in sub str there is a last but one number of index number.
What happens in sub str?
First index number is first value is index number, and the last value second value is length of string.
Yes. Okay. how do we, if I tell you to find any element in an array, okay? So how will you find at which position that element is present?
By the index method, sir.
By index,
Method.
index of, no?
Index of.
And if that element is not present, what index of will return?
-1, sir.
Okay. So, can you share your screen?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Take one string, reverse this string.
Yes.
Okay. So I will sending you one array.
Okay.
Copy that and paste it.
Yes.
Okay. So what you have to do is, I will tell you the month's name and you have to remove that month from this array.
Okay. सर रिमूव्ह करायचं का सर? हॅलो.
Yes. Hello.
Yes.
Okay, you have found the index.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so how will you remove the element now? No, something is wrong. No, your array name is changed. Small a, no?
So which month is we remove?
Take April.
Yes.
Not removed. This one is you are printing April.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, fine. So we are done with your interview. So do you have any questions for me?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.